Hey, okay, so I've been getting quite a few questions about how to color correct under your eyes using Demi Color, which is a product line that Seint has. So I want to show you guys really quick how I color correct under my eyes using Demi Color and which of the products that I use. So Demi Color is a very unique product line. It's not like anything else out there that I've ever seen. And basically what it does is it uses color science to help get rid of any excess color in your skin that is causing distractions. So for example, when it comes to having dark under eyes, a lot of people with dark under eyes tend to have an excess of blue there. That's what's causing that really dark shade. And so when you have an excess of blue, when you're using color science to correct it, you're actually gonna wanna go with a color that is opposite of blue on the color wheel. So the opposite of blue is orange. So if you wanna get rid of the excess blue, you need to neutralize it by using the color orange. Now, the thing that makes Demi Color so unique and what sets it apart from all the other color correctors and concealers on the market is that Demi Color only has 10% opacity. And a lot of the traditional color correctors have 100% opacity. And I'm gonna explain to you why that is such a good thing. So when you use something with 100% opacity, you're essentially just creating a mask on top of the area that you're trying to conceal, and that's why it's being concealed. So if you've got an area, say some rosacea on your cheeks, or like I mentioned before, some dark under eyes, and you put a concealer or a color corrector with 100% opacity on it, you're essentially just placing a layer of product on top of it with the intent to conceal what's underneath it so that it doesn't poke through. So like I said, it's not actually color correcting it, it's just hiding it. It's concealing it underneath by using that 100% opacity and putting that mask on top. Now, don't get me wrong, this is actually really effective a lot of the time. You can definitely conceal any problem areas by using a product that has 100% opacity and have really great results from it. But kind of the drawback to it is that a lot of times you end up having to use a lot of product to be able to conceal it. You need to use enough of that product to really hide what's underneath it. And sometimes, especially when you get areas like underneath your eyes where the skin's a little bit more delicate, it can cause some residual problems by creating texture and cakiness and creasing and that sort of thing with your product. Now, this is where the benefits of Demi Color comes in. So I mentioned before that Demi Color only has 10% opacity, and this is the very thing that sets it apart from everything else on the market and that makes it so great. So because Demi Color has such a low opacity, you're not creating a mask on your face like you do with traditional concealers and color correctors. Instead, you're using a color that's going to neutralize the area, and it's going to leave your skin still looking like skin. It's not going to create a texture, and it's not going to give you an excess of product in those areas. And this is particularly great for areas where you have a lot of movement or you have more delicate skin. So underneath the eyes is a prime area for using something like Demi Color to do your color correction with. Now, one thing I will mention though is that Demi Color takes a little bit of time to learn. It's not something that is just going to be very natural because you have to put more thought into it and you have to be more intentional with your placement. So being able to really study your skin and figure out what the excess colors are can be a little bit tricky in the beginning. And you have to be, like I said, really precise and intentional about your placement or it doesn't work. Because if you put orange on an area that doesn't have excess blue, you're gonna look like you have orange on your skin. But if you're able to pinpoint that color directly on where that excess color of blue is, it's gonna completely neutralize it and give you a beautiful finish. So I'm just gonna do a really quick demonstration to show you what I mean and let you see Demi Color in action. So I'm just gonna start by wiping off the product that I already placed under my eyes, and you can already see a huge difference between the two sides. So to start, I'm going to focus on this area right here where I have the darkest discoloration. So this area right here tends to have a lot of excess blue in it. So like I mentioned previously, when I have a lot of excess blue, I'm gonna need to go into a color that has orange, because orange is opposite of blue on the color wheel, and that's what's going to neutralize it. So in Demi Color, there's actually a color that's called O1, and O stands for orange, and that's the color that I'm going to wanna start with right here to neutralize that area. So this color right here, this is O1, and I'm gonna be taking the spot brush. This one has a really fine tip on it, and this allows me to kind of do more of that pinpoint application that I mentioned earlier. And then I am just gonna go right in, right where I have that excess blue, and I'm just gonna very gently place that color right on top of it. And then I'm gonna flip my brush around to this fluffier side, and I'm just gonna lightly blend it just to make sure that I don't have any excess product and it's nice and smooth. And can you already see what a huge difference that made? And when you look close in this area, I don't look like I have makeup on. It doesn't have any texture to it. It just looks like my skin, but now my skin has been neutralized, so I don't have that blue, that deep dark color showing through anymore. And then you can also see I have some discoloration right here. Now there is a little bit of excess blue in this area, but I also see a little bit of green. It kind of has like a muddy undertone to it. And anytime you have a color that's a little bit muddy, it tends to mean that there's an excess of green there. So green, the opposite of green on the color wheel is red. So I actually want to go into a color that maybe has a little bit of orange, but also has red in it. So I'm actually going to go in with a color that's called R01. The R stands for red, the O stands for orange. So I'm gonna go in with that color right here to help neutralize it. So I'm just gonna do the exact same thing. I'm just gonna very lightly place this color right on top of where I had that excess of blue and green. I'm gonna be very intentional about my placement, and then I'm gonna flip the brush around and just blend it out a little bit, so that way it's nice and smooth on my skin. And now after neutralizing those two different areas underneath my eyes, my under eyes are done. I've been able to completely get rid of that excess color and neutralize it without putting like a heavy layer of makeup all the way underneath my eyes. Because notice, I didn't have to put product over here. I just focused on these two areas where I had the excess of color, and now my under eyes look bright and alive, and they don't have a lot of makeup texture to them because I was able to put on a product with only 10% opacity. So there's definitely a learning curve when it comes to Demi Color, mainly because you have to be able to figure out what your excess colors are in your skin tone to know what colors to use to cancel it out. But once you're able to figure that out, Demi Color is honestly magical. So I'm going to include a link here that breaks down everything you need to know about Demi Color. It actually breaks down each of the different colors of Demi Color and what they're best used for. There also is an area where it talks about what colors work best for different skin tones. So if you are interested in trying out Demi Color, definitely be sure to check out this link, because this is going to explain everything that you need to know to get started with Demi Color. And then because I know there is a learning curve when it comes to Demi Color, whenever somebody purchases Demi Color from me, I always make sure I send them a guide that kind of breaks down how Demi Color works and lets them know what to look for in their own skin. So that way they have a little bit of an advantage when they're getting started with Demi Color to kind of help walk them through those first steps as they're getting started. And then I always mention this, but if you are also interested in getting colored for 3D foundation, which is the other products that I use, I will go ahead and I will leave a link so that way you can submit a photo and I can help color match you to your perfect shades. And if you're interested in what I do as an artist, I will also link some information about the artist program. And if you decide you would like to do this, I would love to mentor you here in Seint. So I will leave that information, and let me know if you have any questions.